Welcome back to Making the Complex Simple podcast. I'm here to go over my week with you to talk about the lessons that I've learned, the mistakes I've made. So hopefully you can learn them, get the lessons, get the takeaways, apply those things to your business, and not get the scars of doing it yourself. So we're going to jump right in, and today is going to be heavy on the marketing side, and we're going to talk about kind of where my strategy has been lately and how I see it moving forward. So if you haven't listened to the other podcast, the whole goal in the beginning for your business is to go from unknown to known. If people don't know you, they can't buy from you, whether you're a personal brand or whether you are just a company that has a logo and it's more of a traditional business model. So, how do you go from unknown to known? And I'm talking specifically digital marketing because this is the method that I'm using. So, there's definitely more ways than this, but I'm just going to talk about the main methods that I see. So, the ones that are traditional or the ones that I feel like have the most traffic are YouTube. I think that's really great to go from unknown to known. And it's really good for long form content. And now shorts have been around for a while. So you have both those on there. And I think people spend a lot of time on YouTube to watch videos, to get educated. So I think that's a really great platform. Obviously, you have the organics. So Meta, TikTok, LinkedIn, I would say those are your main ones there. And then you also have ads. And the two main players for ads are Google ads and Facebook ads or Meta ads. So Google ads are really, really strong and powerful, obviously, but there's a lot of competition because when people are going on Google and searching for, restaurants near me, you want yours to show up at the top of the list, right? Before the 10 blue links, you want yours to show up in the sponsored section. Or I'm looking for someone that can help me run my ads. Okay, then all these different agencies are going to try to compete for that top spot in the pay per click. So anytime that someone clicks on the link, Google will charge you. And then Facebook ads or Meta ads is more of an interruption based ad style where people are scrolling. Usually they're trying to be entertained on social media, not looking for solutions to their problems, but more likely try to get away from their problems. But it works out as well. So there are people on there as well that are looking for solutions, and they'll convert on that platform as well. So those are the main, I would say, four. So YouTube, organic, social media, meaning, and then Google ads and Facebook ads. Those are like the main players that I see most often used with businesses. And so I want to talk about my current structure because I think, I've mentioned before that I wanted to focus more on the top of the funnel, meaning making people go from unknown to known for my business, what I do, how I solve problems uniquely in the marketplace. And that didn't mean that I was going away from my ads at all. It just means that I was going to, on top of my ads, which I was going to rearrange the budget, I was also going to focus more on, again, the organic and YouTube, which is the two that I laid out before. And real quick, just to go back, if you're looking at or if you're trying to consider which strategy or which platform you want to start on, whether it be ads, YouTube, or organic social media, I would think about your timeline. So if you're brand new and you're like, okay, I want to get sales in the near term, then I would probably start with ads more than trying to grow organically. But if you have time, you definitely can do a hybrid of both. Or if you have no money to spend, then you just do organic, but realize that time horizon might be 2, 3, 4 years before you have an audience built up enough to where then you can now offer a product or service to them, and you would have some takers eventually. So a lot of people that do really, really well when they start their business right now in today's economy, that's more of a digital marketing standpoint, they already have an audience that they've grown from organic social media or YouTube or whatever platform. So they're getting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views to their profile, to their page, whatever it is. So that's the key there. And if you don't have that and you didn't build that over time, then you have to inorganically push views to your content, which is what ads are there for. So what is my current spend for advertising? So again, I run on Meta, and the whole goal here was, if you haven't listened to any of my previous podcasts, I was originally just spending 100% of my ad spend that I had budgeted on trying to get people to convert. But the not the problem, but the shortfalls of that is that you are targeting the same pool that other people are targeting. So now you're competing against them with offers, and two, those people don't know you. And if you're doing something like what I'm doing, which is a services based business where I'm trying to work with them for a long period of time, you have to build the relationship first. Okay. So other business models, it might work to try to get the fast sell, like selling shoes or school supplies or business supplies, whatever it may be. That might work to where you're just going straight to conversion, and there's no relationship that's really needed to be built to get there. With mine, I realized that I wanted to try to build the relationship. They needed to know what my company stood for, who I was, and they needed to feel like they could trust me before they can take that next step, because I'm working with them from a financial lens. So the trust really, really needs to be there. Uh, so what I did was, okay, instead of just doing all trying to convert, I said, well, one, let me start making more organic content. So start working on posting content, specifically reels, to Meta. So that's Facebook, Instagram, and then post it on TikTok and LinkedIn. So if you don't already have some type of software that helps you multi-post into like different platforms, I would highly recommend it. It'll save you a lot of time rather than having to go and to upload into each one. You're not going to get as good as results because you're not manually being able to use the features of the app that you're posting in. So you lose some features, you lose some ability to reach people, but you are more omni-channel. Like no matter where people go, they'll be able to find your content. So I started doing that. I started making YouTube videos because I feel like that is definitely the long-term play, especially with content that I like to make, which is more educational based content. And then I said, okay, for ads, how do I need to switch this up? Because if I'm just trying to convert people at the bottom, there's no relationship built. How can I structure this more to where there is a relationship built and I'm not just leading straight with, hey, jump on a call with me so I can sell you, right? That's not relationship based, that's transactional based. So I wanted to get away from that. So I was like, okay, how do I do that? Well, one, I needed to increase the pool that my ads can target. So I wanted to target people who were interested in my content to begin with, right? That's like the first level. All right, they're interested, they watched it, they liked it, they commented it, they shared it, or something along those lines, right? They engaged with the content. So what I started to do was I wanted to reach people that outside of the normal algorithm that would push organically to my from my content that I would post. So what I did was I started to run ads, and I said, all right, exclude or don't target anyone who is following me, who's engaged with me, or who has watched a couple pieces of my content. Only to cold audiences, no one that's never seen my content before. So send these ads out to them, and then I prioritized it around certain age ranges, and I said, hey, they got to be interested in business. And then the content that I'm pushing out there to this really cold new audience, right, is content that I would think only business owners would be interested in. So I wanted to increase the pool of who I would be able to retarget, because when I'm sending out these ads to a cold audience, it's hopefully to get them to watch, it's hopefully to get them engaged, it's to hopefully forget, best case scenario, they go and they follow my profile so that I can hit them organically with content as well. So I'm going out and I started spending a lot of money on just reaching new audience, right? Going from unknown to known through paid ads. So that was the first method. And so I looked at my ad spend as a ratio today. And so 43% currently is going out to pushing content to new audiences that have never seen my content before. Hopefully, to get more business owners to watch it, to engage with it, so then that way I can retarget them. Okay. So 43% is going towards that, just going into new audiences, trying to build my pool that I can then retarget to. So then the next one is my first level of retargeting. And so these are ads that explain, who we work with, what we are, or like who we are as a company, the origin story of the company, testimonials, things like that. Value added content that did really well organically. So that's all at the retargeting level. So anyone who engaged with that first level content that was sending it out to cold, right, out into the ether of Meta, um, and they engaged with it, then they go into the second pool of retargeting. Great. Okay, so then hopefully, they're engaging with that content, they're watching it, they're absorbing it, and then there's some hopefully some relationship building happening in that stage, right? And then from there, which if I didn't mention, 43%. So another 43% of my ad budget is going to just nurturing them with more content about what I do, who I am, the company in general. And then after that, there's 12% of my budget that's going to giving away free resources. So think newsletters, think free tools. There's something that I'm working on right now that's going to be, I think, amazing, that I'll be sending out, and I'll definitely let everyone know on this podcast in the near future. But all that to say, I'm sending out these free resources to help, again, build the relationship, help them to get into my ecosystem more, to help them understand who we are, what we do, how we solve problems, build the trust factor with them. And so that's 12%. And then I just this last couple of days turned on, and which is 2% of my ad budget, which is retargeting people who have gone to my website. So throughout the ads, there are some ads that tell them, hey, go to my profile, check out my profile. Then there are some ads that say, hey, click this link and go to my website. Not a lot of them, but there's a few in there sprinkled in. So I do get traffic every day that goes to my website, to certain landing pages. And then anyone who goes there, I'm retargeting, because I feel like those are the warmest people, right? So those are the warmest people who have watched the cold one, right? If we start from the top, they watched the cold one, then they watched the retargeting ads, and then they clicked on over to the website. So that tells me like they've made it through a bit of a journey here. And so I retarget them to say, hey, saw that you visited the website. Are you interested in booking a call? So I'm being a little bit more direct with them. And so those are my 4 layers that I'm doing right now. And you can see 2% is on directly asking them to book a call. 98% is on freebies and or nurturing them with content. So that's the funnel right now, just to give you an idea of how I flipped it. So again, before it was 100% on just trying to get them to convert. Now 98% is focused on giving value, building the relationship, letting them know about who we are, showing proof that we know what we're doing, those things. Case studies of business owners that we worked with in the past and how they've gotten these results. You get the idea. So that's my current strategy. But the thing with this is, like, if you run that strategy where you're focused first on building the relationship, and it's more of the top of the funnel that's called in marketing instead of the bottom, it's going to take longer naturally. So I anticipate this is going to be a very, very slow drip over the next coming months. But the longer that you do it, the more that it will build the top in the middle, and then more will come through the bottom. So that's my current ad spend. And if you're very interested in like knowing like the exact structure of how I set up my ads, let me know. I might do a deep dive in a future podcast of literally here's how exactly I set them up. This is how I think about it when I'm writing copy, the creatives that I use. If you're interested in that, I definitely could do a deep dive, but I also want to make sure people actually want to hear that and listen to it. So if it is, let me know. Let me know on social media. You can send me a direct message and I can do that for you. And then the other thing that I was, as I'm going through like social media and I'm continuing to like watch content, get better ideas for, what content I want to post. The interesting stat popped up. I think it was Meta who actually sent this out that said the ads, because we're still talking about ads here. The ads, or the businesses that do the best at ads or running advertisements, the ones that get the best return on investment, they test 11 times more than the average. So obviously it depends on what you're selling. It obviously depends on how big of a marketing team that you have. But let's just say that, for you run typically 5 ads at a time. Okay, well, the person who's doing the best, in your industry running similar ads is doing 55 ads. So some people might call this throwing spaghetti at the wall, but in marketing, you have to do this a lot. You have to throw a lot of things, test a lot of different variables to come up with, got it, this is the best one, and it outperforms everything by a long shot. I did that when I first started running conversion ads, and I think I ran close to 100, and there was like 2 or 3 that stood out, like could convert people, get them over to the landing page, and were way better than the rest. So you have to be willing to test and put in that time, but it is a lot of time to do that. Like there's a lot that goes into creating 100 pieces of content. Um, so that's really it for the ad side of things. The next thing I wanted to talk about was this concept of a flywheel. So there's a book that was written by an author who kind of looked at Jeff Bezos's annual shareholder letters, because when you're a public company, usually you write a letter. So Amazon, when he was the CEO, he would write these letters. And so this author, I forget his name right now, but he pretty much dissected all of his letters and came up with 13 growth principles. And one of the growth principles, which actually came from a book earlier, from Good to Great. Again, I'm not remembering the author off the top of my head, but it's this concept of a flywheel. And this flywheel is something that you do, and the more that you pour into it, the faster it gets. So I'll give you an example of one. A flywheel for me is, I talk to business owners. When I talk to business owners, I can understand better what they're struggling with. And then that allows me to make content for my business channel, or maybe for this channel if I want to talk about those things that I'm seeing. And then it's a reinforcing loop, because then, great, that gives me content. That content then pushes it out to more people then interact and get me closer to the outcomes that I'm looking for. And then it just repeats and over again, and it starts stacking on top of each other. So that's an example of a flywheel. Another one too could be like if you have a product or a service and you go back to your customer or a specific group of customers, and they're telling you things that you can do to improve your product or service, then you make it better. And guess what? When you make it better, there's more referrals. And when there's more referrals, then you get more feedback. When you get more feedback, then you make it better. And then it's a self-repeating loop. So it's really, really important to know what your flywheels are. And I think for Amazon, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I've read the book, but they started to bring on, more offerings, some different product lines to the store, and then that drove more traffic. And then they started bringing on competitors who would then sell directly on Amazon. It's like the Amazon marketplace. So then that drove even more traffic. And so there's all these loops that were built in around their kind of competitive advantages and moats. And the more people that joined, the more valuable Amazon got. So I would definitely always consider like thinking about what your flywheel is, and how you can implement that into your business. So that was just something that I always go and I look and I think back on, is how can I put more flywheels into my business? Because then every hour I put into this, every person that comes on, customer, whatever it may be, it gets better and better, more value, more value, more value. So you want things that compound over time. So that's it with the flywheel. And the next thing I wanted to talk about was YouTube. So obviously starting in January, I started making videos once a week. And obviously I'm still in the infancy stage, right? I'm not really getting too many people to view it. It's definitely work in progress, but there are some things that I'm going to be implementing moving forward, and I wanted to share them with you as kind of some structural things that I'm implementing into the videos. And maybe this can help you if you're making YouTube videos or if you're looking to start. So I think the first thing that you need to focus on, if you listen to my last episode, is the thumbnail, the title, in the first couple seconds, 15, 20, 30 seconds. I think most people say 30 seconds of the video. Again, the first 30 seconds, because people will view that as a preview when they're scrolling through YouTube, and when they click on it, that's where the biggest drop-off rate will be. So people will click on it and they'll decide if they're interested or not to watch the whole video within the first 30 seconds. If they're like, this isn't for me, they back out. That's how you would drop and lose retention, or people watching all the way through the video. And so you got to start formalizing like what you do on the front end of these videos. So the first thing is obviously the hook. And so the hook is something that will like get them invested into watching the rest of the video. And so this could be something where you're helping them avoid a problem, or you're helping them get to an outcome that they want, something, but something that will hook their attention and say, got it. It might be something curiosity driven, but it's something that'll say, okay, I want to watch the rest of this and see what unfolds here. What's the rest of this video all about? And so the second thing after the hook would be the promise. So this should be reinforcing of your title or your thumbnail. So if you say you're going to give them 5 steps to reach $1 million, then you probably should then reiterate that in the first couple seconds. And after the hook, then you'd say, in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 steps it'll take to reach $1 million, right? You want to reconfirm what you were saying in there to let them know, yes, you did click on the right video, you are going to get this type of content. And then the third thing, and this is more specifically for educational content or people who are trying to build a business, I think it's really important to introduce yourself and then tell people why they should listen to you. So for me, hey, my name is Morgan Whalen. I worked with businesses. I've helped them get to this stage, or I've had this outcomes in my business. So you got to establish some type of authority and show some proof of why people should listen to you. And this can be really tight. It doesn't need to be like this long drawn out thing. Again, you have max 30 seconds to do this. And then I think the last piece would be giving a roadmap. Hey, we're going to go through these 5 steps, and then you kind of show the 5 steps visually, or you talk about, hey, we're going to go through step 1, which is this, then step 2, then step 3, then step 4, then step 5, and you like list out the actual steps. So I think it's a good a roadmap's really good to let people know, hey, this is the journey that we're about to go on. So again, in the first 30 seconds, if you're really good, you want to tighten it up even more, like the first 15 seconds. But you have the hook, you have the promise, then you have the proof, then you have the roadmap. Okay? And then the thumbnail, things that I'll be working on is, again, it's benefits driven. So, what's in it for them? Or it could be something, and this could be something like speed. So it's like, hey, usually this takes you an hour. I'm going to show you how to do it in 2 minutes. That would be a good value add for someone. Or, hey, it used to take you 20 steps, but let me show you how you can do it in 5. And so that could also make it easier to do it than it was before. So things that people want, I think, are the guaranteed outcome, the speed in which you do it, the ease, less effort on their end, typically the better. So if you frame your thumbnails, I also see a lot of like before and after. So on one half of the thumbnail, it's like, here's where you are now, and then boom, after. So the before and after, I think, is really good as well. But again, I always go back to just looking at what's happening on YouTube and try to take inspiration from them before you try to get fancy and do it yourself. So again, you want to kind of take inspiration from others because they've already done the groundwork to see what works. And then after that, once you get the idea of, okay, these are the concepts that work, then you can start doing it yourself in your own version. Another thing for the YouTube videos is, putting in the free resources into the videos themselves. So if I'm making a video, let's say it's 10 minutes long, retention will drop over time, meaning people will leave the video the longer the video goes on. That's just natural for any video. So one, you want to put the free resource after you give some value in the beginning, but not too far to where you lost so many people. So my opinion is the first third is where I'm going to put it and see how that works. And then again, free resource. So for me, it could be a newsletter, it could be a free tool, it could be some other free resources that I make in the future, like an ebook, whatever it is. But you want to give away that free resource, and then bam, now they're in your ecosystem from YouTube. So they're on your email list, or maybe you send them to, like a community that you have on Facebook or wherever it may be. But you're sending them to something where they can get the resource, and then that way you can also give them more free things. So it's a lot of free stuff you had to give out. But it's definitely, I think, a little long-term play, what people would appreciate, because you're giving them a lot of stuff up front, and that's building the trust that they can work with you in the future. Okay. So, one thing on the pretty much an ad that you're putting in your own video about the free resources, don't make it feel like an ad. Make it feel like it's just part of the conversation. So as you're going through it, it might be like, hey, if you really want the next level of insights, go sign up for my free newsletter. It's right over here. Click the link below. And then also, make sure you have a pinned comment. So pinned comment will always put at the top. So if anyone puts anything underneath, they'll always see the free resource or the call to action that you have in there. So those are the things I'm doing to improve my YouTube game. Again, I want to give you the tactical things that I'm implementing in my own process to help make it better. And I know that it's not one of those things that's going to make it happen. It's like you got to do 100 tweaks like this that I'm mentioning before things start to pick up, people start watching your videos, and it goes from there. So keep that in mind. Another thing that I find really, really interesting is I'm trying to stay on top of all the different AI tools that are coming out, because I feel like every week there's a new tool, there's something different. And if you're not staying on top of it as a business owner, you're going to be left behind with people who are using these tools. So I think it's always really good to understand what's the latest and greatest out there. So one, you can either use it yourself, or two, be wary and look out for it so you know, oh, okay, got it. This is just a tool. It's not actually a human on the other side of this thing. So I found something that was really, really crazy. It's very powerful, but I'm always wary of these types of tools. So I'm gonna get into it, and I'm gonna explain to you kind of my thoughts overall. So it's called AI SDR, which SDR is really just a term for a salesperson who does outreach, either or not outreach in particular, but I'd say prospecting. So either inbound or outbound. So inbound for sales means people go to your website, they sign up for your blog, they sign up for your resource, they came to you inbound, right? Kind of like the push pull marketing that we talked about in the last podcast episode. So inbound means they took a step towards you, and now you are reaching out to follow up with them. Hey, did you get the free resource? Hey, is there any other help that you need? Right? You're starting to build the communication bridge there, and so this AI SDR is supposed to replace the salesperson who would usually do that for you on your team. So what do? Well, for outbound, meaning if you don't know them for any reason, and they may have zero relationship to you, it could be cold, right? They're going to start searching on social media, and this one specifically did LinkedIn. So they're going to look on LinkedIn for people who are your avatar, your business avatar, and they're going to scan their last few posts, like their last 3 posts, and then they're going to send them a custom message to their inbox. So again, this pretty much AI software will scan LinkedIn, see who they think is qualified for the business that you are running, and then send personalized message based off the last couple of posts that person did. Absolutely bananas, right? So I can already think in my mind, like the amount, if people adopt this, the amount of like spam going to people's inboxes on LinkedIn is going to go through the roof. It's already a lot, but it's just going to get even more. But it's crazy that this software can do that. So again, if you're on LinkedIn, just be wary of it. And two, here's the crazier one. Like their software that comes out, the software that's coming out now can actually see, it's called first party data, which means if you have signed up for free resources or given your information to other businesses, and it's kind of gotten out on these longer lists that people can sell to contact you, that means it's pretty much open data, and these softwares have gathered that data. So they have this huge database of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of contact information. So they'll know, like, let's say I go to a website, they'll know that I, Morgan, visited that website. They'll know my email address. They'll know the company I work in. They'll know all this data already because of what's publicly available and what I've given different softwares my information. So they automatically already know that I visited the site. Now, do they have this data on everyone? No. So if you really keep your data like under lock and key, they're not going to see that you visited the website. But they're seeing that you visit the website without actually you telling them that you're there, which is kind of crazy, right? And so it'll see like, okay, this person who I'll just take me for example. I visited their pricing page on whatever tool that I was looking at. So then what this AI SDR tool will do is then again scrape the information that it knows of you, look at your LinkedIn profile, and then send you a custom message talking about your software, your solution that could be applicable to how I would use it in my business. Absolutely crazy, right? So this would usually take someone to go out And well, one, you wouldn't be able to see who visited your webpage before. So now you can see who visited your webpage. Then you'd have to go out and do the research yourself on who they are, what industry they're in, what position they hold in the company, then send a tailored email message to them. All that's now done by this AI tool, which is absolutely crazy. So what it will do is not only send you an email, even though you didn't even give the business that website, that web page, your email, it'll send an email, because in the US, there's no law against it, but in Europe and other countries, there are, about sending people emails when they didn't give you permission. US, it varies state by state, but most states will say, yes, you can send them the information, which I think, again, if this tool gets adopted, all states are pretty much going to have to put in like something closer to what Europe has, which is you cannot contact them unless they give you the information to contact them. But not only will it send the email to you, it'll also go on LinkedIn and then connect with you and then start sending you messages on LinkedIn as well. So it's pretty crazy. So this tool is bananas. And so I went to the website. If you want to look it up, it's called AI SDR, that specific company. But a word of caution, if you go to the website, they use that tool. So they're going to scrape your data when you go to that website, and then they're going to send you from all these different companies. They're going to start sending you these emails. So that's what happened to me. I got like 4 or 5 emails almost instantly after I went to that website from different companies, like, hey, have you checked out this? Have you checked out that? And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is going to spam people's inboxes like crazy. So I did what I would have done if I was a consumer anyways, and I just hit spam on all of them because I didn't ask for those emails. So I feel, it's a double-edged sword. One, you got to know the tools, and you got to be able to take advantage when possible, so you're not left behind, because other businesses will use these things. But at the same time, you also got to put in your own like morals and ethics into this, and think about it from the consumer side. Like, do you want to be on the receiving end of all these emails? Probably not. So again, it's like kind of, if you wouldn't want that done to yourself, you probably shouldn't be using this type of tool. And so that's kind of where I sit on this. Is it a good tool? Yes. Would I just start sending people cold emails? No, because then you can ruin your email domain reputation. So for anyone who doesn't know, your email has a reputation that Gmail and Microsoft look at and determine to say, where does this email land in all these different sub inboxes? So you can land in the primary inbox, you can land in the promotional inbox, you can land in the spam folder, and all that's based off your reputation. So if you're sending out all these cold emails and people who are receiving them are flagging them as spam, your domain's going to get shot really quick. And then after that, there's months and months of work you have to do to recover that domain to a healthy level before you can start sending emails and people will actually receive them and they just don't go straight to spam. So all that to say, use that at your own risk, but I think it's very, very important to know what are all the tools out there. So I'm going to probably continue to give a little bit of time during these podcasts to go over some of the tools that I'm looking at, researching, or have found interesting in the business context, because I think it's just super important to know to stay on top of. And then another thing that I wanted to talk about was, there was this clip on social media that I saw of this author, and I think he was a teacher who taught people how to write, and he's written multiple books. And he said when he was lecturing and he was in front of the class that this was about sales and marketing. So he said, until you write and publish your 3rd book, don't even think about sales, don't even think about marketing, because I think the point he was trying to get across was most people are just trying to market and sell after the 1st book, when he's really saying focus on your passion, focus on the story, focus on those things inside the book, and then as you get better after your 3rd book, then you can start trying to market and sell that book. And I really like the concept there, because in business you have to constantly go back and forth with your focus. And I think in the beginning, when you're first starting, it's a lot about the product or the service, because no one's bought it yet, or no one's tried it yet, or no one's signed up for your services. And so you spend a lot of time figuring out, okay, what is that we're going to offer people? Do we think they're going to like it? What is the competition offering, right? So you're a lot about the product or the service in the beginning. And then once you have something down, right, an MVP, what they call in software, most minimum viable product, And again, it could be on the service side too. Then your focus should shift to sales and marketing. How do I push this out to as many people as possible? So then that way, once they do sign up, whether that be free in the beginning or paid for, however you want to run it, um, then I can get feedback on it. So your priority shifts from the product or the service to sales and marketing. And I would say probably up to like the $1 million mark. Once you have an MVP for a product or a service, all of your attention should be on sales and marketing because you don't have enough users or you don't have enough people signed up for your service to get the good quality feedback that you need anyways to make the improvements on the product or service. Now, I'm not saying you can't do little tweaks, but I'm saying the primary focus is on sales and marketing. And so then once you hit that million, past that $1 million, then you can go back to the product, refine it, then go back to the sales and marketing, and you see this like seesaw that happens. And then at a certain point, as the business owner, you would step back and then you'd have people in place, and you're now managing people who do the seesaw pattern back and forth between sales and marketing and then the product or the service. Um, so those are the thoughts that I had. And some of the lessons I learned, some of the things that tactically I'm going to be doing differently going into these next few weeks. I would love to know if any of this stuff is helpful to you by, if you can leave a comment or, rate the podcast, that would be fantastic. But that's all for this one. I'll catch you on the next one.